So I think we're going to start. So hola, good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. I am very excited to be here today. I'm very grateful with Leslie for organizing this so quickly. We're very happy because this is a brand new MOU that we have with a brand new partner that we have at FUNED with the McCourt School of Public Policy. And this is a great opportunity for anyone interested in such matters and such programs. So today we are here with Leslie Everett. She's the Dean Associate for Student Affairs, right? So she is the person, the best person for you guys to be hearing about McCourt, its programs, what it has to offer for you, and of course, the scholarship opportunities that you will find. So you are in time. If you want to do your master's this year, in the autumn of this year, you're still in time to apply. So please listen carefully. And at the end, we're going to have some Q&A. And I just want to say that I am jealous of everyone that might be able to study in Washington public policy course, because I can't find it a more exciting town and a more exciting place to do that. So please listen carefully. Thank you so much, Leslie, for being with us. And well, I'll just leave it to you.
Wonderful. Well, thank you, Sophia, for setting this up so quickly as well. It was kind of amazing how fast this came together, but it shows how important our relationship is, how important students from Mexico and from Latin America are to the McCourt School and to Georgetown University. So good evening, everyone. Again, my name is Leslie Everett. I'm the Associate Dean for Student Affairs. No offense to the other deans at the McCourt School at Georgetown, but I'm the fun dean because I get to work with students from the time that they're prospective students like yourself to the time that they graduate and become alumni, which I know sounds a long way off, but we do everything in between to help support you during your time applying to McCourt, when you're here at the university, and then when you graduate. So very happy to be here. I'm actually zooming in from about a mile from the US Capitol. And as Sophia and I were saying before the webinar began, some of you may know that the US's State of the Union is this evening. I was watching a preview of the speech from President Biden, and he'll be covering such public policy topics as the devastation in Syria and Turkey, the war in Ukraine, the economy and inflation, immigration, crime, poverty, education. And to be quite honest, it was a little depressing. But this webinar could not have come at the more perfect time, because it made me really optimistic and really happy about the future, because so many of you are potentially considering a career or school in public policy and joining potentially the McCourt School or frankly, even the public policy community in general, of becoming what we call our impatient change makers. And that's really what we focus on a lot at the McCourt School, is helping to provide you with the skills, the curriculum, the knowledge, the opportunities, whether that's internship or works, the student organization, the community, and the networks, in order for you to be successful in going out and changing the world. So again, really excited that you're all here today. I'll be talking a lot about our different degree programs, obviously our admissions requirements. As Sophia mentioned, that we still do have a March 1st deadline, although we had 2 other deadlines pass. But even if you don't apply to us this year, just even learning more about the programs and becoming connected with us, we're happy to stay in touch and involve you in our community. And we'll talk a lot more about sort of what the McCourt community looks like and what we have to offer. Talk about careers in public policy, particularly if this is a new area of interest or if you haven't studied it from before. And then hopefully, I believe one of my favorite alumni who's from Mexico is going to be joining us to tell you what it's really like to be at the McCourt School. Because again, you may think my job is to sell you on the McCourt School. My job is really to sell you on a career in public policy, whether you choose to join us or not, but we hope you'll join us. But hopefully Patricia will be joining us later. So I think it's really important for you when you're thinking about graduate school in general, or what are the skills that you're going to get out of the program? And they're going to be applicable to what the career path you want to choose or what you want to do. And our faculty and students and staff really sat down and thought about what are the most important skill sets that we want every McCourt student to have, regardless if they choose any of our programs. And you'll see here that's collaboration, critical thinking, economic analysis, engaging with bias, ethical leadership, evaluation, policy analysis, political analysis, quantitative reasoning, and strategic communication. And when you come into McCourt, a lot of you will have these skill sets already, or part of them, or maybe some training in one and other training, not other training in others. But when you graduate from McCourt, you will have had the opportunities through our first introductory course called the Foundations of McCourt. Throughout your courses, these skills are built into our curriculum, and through our other opportunities, what we call our co-curricular or extracurricular opportunities. So again, when somebody asks you what a public policy degree is or what are the skills you get, these are the skills you're going to get from the McCourt School. So I'll go a little bit more into our degree programs and talk a little bit about sort of the curriculum, what sets them apart. But we know that this is a lot of information for you. I did share the slides with Sophia. I also realized I talk very quickly. I'm from New Jersey and we're known for talking very quickly. And in English, I apologize, I don't speak Spanish. So if at any point you have questions, please put them in the chat. You can wait to the Q&A, or I'll provide you with my information so that you can follow up later. But really at the McCourt School, we offer these 4 degree programs. The largest of our programs is the Master of Public Policy, which can be done in a full-time or part-time manner. Our Master of International Development Policy, which is full-time only. And I should go back, the Master of Public Policy is 2 years full-time, and that's no summer work, or if you did it as a part-time, that would be 3 years with 2 summers of coursework. The Master of International Development Policy is also a 2-year full-time program. And while there's no summer coursework, it does require a summer internship or experience, which I'll talk about later. Our Master of Policy Management, which is considered our sort of mid-career program. Students are required to have at least 5 years work experience, though many have about 7 to 10 years. That's a 1-year program if done full-time, and that does include summer coursework or can be done in a part-time matter. And then finally, our newest degree is our Master of Science and Data Science for Public Policy, which is full-time only. It's a 2-year degree program with no summer coursework, but is really a combination of a sort of computer science and public policy degree. And I'll talk more about it. One thing I did want to flag for you that I think is particularly of interest and sets aside McCourt from a lot of public policy schools is that 3 of our degree programs are considered what is called STEM certified, and that's science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. And what that means, particularly for students who come to international students who are on an F1 or J1 visa, is that once you complete this degree program, you are eligible for up to 3 years of what we call optional practical training, meaning 3 years of work experience in the United States. Without the STEM certification, typically international students are only able to stay for a year of optional practical training. So except for our Master of Policy Management, these other 3 degrees are STEM certified. And as you hear, when I go through the curriculum, you'll understand why. And just to give you a sense of our overall community, right now we have about 650 students. They're all graduate students in these master's degree programs across all of the programs. So we'll start with the MPP, which is our largest program. Every year we bring in about 125 to 150 full-time students and about 25 part-time students. And we're really focused on teaching you the skills of data-driven, evidence-based public policy while keeping people and institutions and politics in mind while you're making these policies. So you'll see, compared to a lot of other public policy programs, we focus a lot on quantitative methods. There will be 3 courses in that sequence, as well as 2 semesters of intermediate microeconomics. And this is really to give you the skills of sort of understanding all of the data and all of the numbers and all of the research and the methodologies that go into providing this policy research that decisions are made from. Sure, you can be great, consumers of the research and question the methodology, know how these sort of decisions are made, or if the methodologies are flawed, and being able to question that. I think that's really important to us as numbers and data become so important in our society. But of course, as I mentioned, we want you to always keep the people in mind when making public policy. And political institutions and processes, that includes a public policy process course that you can take, either a US focused one or what we call a comparative focused one. Public management class, again, you have the choice of taking US focused or comparative. And when I say comparative, it means looking at other countries' infrastructures and comparing it to the US. And then you will take an ethics, value, and public policy class. And then, of course, we want you to have a great opportunity to sort of put all of these skills and all of the curriculum into practice. And you'll get to choose in the MPP degree either the MPP thesis, which is more of an individualized quantitative analysis where you pick a research question, you use existing data sets, you run your regression analysis, and then you make policy recommendations based upon it. Or you have the opportunity of getting some more, what we say, real world experience, but it's almost like a consulting project, a client-based project, where you may work with government agencies or foundations, nonprofits, or other organizations on a real specific policy issue that an organization needs help with. And you would do that in your second year when you get the choice. I'm going to hold off on talking about electives because what we value the most at the McCourt School is that the majority of our electives that we offer, and we offer about 50 to 60 different electives a semester, are open to all of our degree programs. And this is really, really important to us so that our students are learning from one another, regardless of levels of experience or types of degree programs they're in, but it really creates some amazing opportunities. And then we have a required internship of the MPP program. And this is really helpful in particular for international students to avoid some of the issues students may face with using what we call curricular practical training. The US government always makes things very difficult, unfortunately, but by having this requirement, it does help you get opportunities even in your first year to intern and work, whether that's on campus or off campus. As I said, I'm moving through these very quickly, so understand, again, you may have questions or can always follow up about them. Our next program I'll talk about is the Master of International Development Policy. And as you can see, the core curriculum is fairly similar to the more general Master of Public Policy, but every class is really going to focus on international development. And this program requires you to have 2 years of experience in international development before applying, whereas the Master of Public Policy does not require any experience in order to apply. So you'll see that we still focus a lot on quantitative methods and economics, but this is going to be statistical methods for international development or intermediate economics, microeconomics for international development. You also take a couple additional courses on social and economic development, as well as political economy of developing countries, along with some management and leadership in developing countries, ethics. Again, the core curriculum is only for the MIDP students, and it's really focused on international development. And I should mention, we try to bring in about 20 to 25 students in this program, so it's a true cohort program. Then in the MIDP, you'll have a capstone experience. And as I said, it's all international development focused. So you will, be working either with government agencies, nonprofits, NGOs on international development-based policy analysis projects. You're also required to have a summer experience. And typically our students do go abroad and work in different countries, or some will stay in the US, especially if they're international students. And we work with you really closely to find you the best opportunities where you're putting your coursework into development. But it is required that it happens over the summer, whereas the MPP program, while we have the internship, you can do it at any point in time in your curriculum. And then finally, again, I'll hold off and talk on the electives, but you might decide that, yes, I want to study international development, but it's really important that I get to know, the US political system or politics in the media and how they interplay. So your electives do not need to be development-based if you don't want them to be. The next degree program, the Master's of Science in Data Science for Public Policy. As I mentioned, this program is our newest program. It's been about 3 years in existence. We bring in about 30 to 40 students in a cohort program. And it's really a combination of sort of computer science, data analytics, and public policy. We found that, yes, it's one thing to be able to, use big data and crunch the numbers. It's another thing to be able to understand how this impacts people in public policy. So again, there's still some statistics courses. There's foundations of data science, which, are all levels of different types of data science courses. We teach you a variety of different programming languages. You'll also take microeconomics, you'll take public policy process, you'll take public management in order to round out your public policy experience, and you get to take those with the MPP students. And I think that's a real big highlight of the program, that while you are taking your statistics and your data science courses with your cohort, that you're still getting the opportunity to interact and engage with the MPP students. Then you'll take ethics, communication, electives. Again, they don't have to be in the data science space if you don't want them to be. There's also a set of seminars and opportunities to really delve deeper into the data science experience. And then again, you have a required internship that can be done at any time during the program. Most students in the DSPP and MPP tend to do it over the summer, but you do have the opportunity to do it throughout the year as well. And then some of you, may be qualified. As I mentioned, you need at least 5 years experience in order to apply for the Master of Policy Management program. As you'll see, the coursework in this program is a little bit less focused on the quantitative and economic analysis skills. This is really more for students who are a little bit further along in the career and are managers and don't necessarily need to know the ins and outs of how policy analysis is produced, but that they're going to be good consumers of it. And they're going to be the ones making the decisions based upon the numbers and the research that maybe the MPP, MIDP, and DSPP students are giving them. So we want to make sure that they're well versed in it. They do a policy management project, which is a longer policy paper, and get a variety of electives that they will take. And also an internship is required, though I should mention for all of our programs except the MIDP, if you have had significant internship experience, you can always apply to waive that particular project. I just want to highlight with the MPM program, we bring in about 70 to 80 students in that program. They typically start in the summer. So we have 2 great cohorts within that program, the National Urban Fellows program, and we have Army captains from the Joint Chief of Staff who are selected to come. And both programs are really important to add to the diversity of the conversations that are happening in the classroom. So even if you're not qualified or not interested in the Master Policy Management, you'll absolutely interact with these students in your electives. So speaking of electives, these are very, very general sort of policy areas that we have. And I think our students really take a variety of electives to round out their experiences. Some want to do very specific policy areas like education, environment, health, while others really want to focus more on methods or sort of management, leadership. However, you have the opportunity to choose the electives that you want to take. So just to give you a highlight of some of these electives that we offered from this past fall, and I'm also happy to share ones we're offering from this spring, you'll see a wide variety from skills-based courses like game theory, macroeconomics, data visualization, negotiation, while also very specific policy areas like health policy, homeland security, race and U.S. criminal legal policy. And as I mentioned, this is just a small sample size. So if you don't see something that you're interested in, please don't hesitate to ask. We may already offer it. Or the beauty of Georgetown University is that you can take courses, elective courses at other programs on campus. So we have a wonderful School of Foreign Service, an excellent law center, fantastic programs across the university, that the business school, that some of our students take advantage of taking electives. And then Georgetown University is also part of what we call the consortium of universities. And what that means is that if we don't have the course at the McCourt School or at Georgetown University, we can work with you to find potentially an elective course at one of our other partners. American University, Howard University, University of Maryland, and George Mason University, among others. So most of the time, our students tend to take most of their courses at McCourt or Georgetown, but if there might be something like space policy that you're interested in, and we don't currently offer it, but GW does or George Washington does. However, because we had enough students asking for space policy, we're actually going to be offering a space policy course in fall of 2023. So part of my role is really working with students, working with faculty to figure out what are the electives that are going to meet the needs of our students, as well as just give you some cutting edge research or skill building that'll help you in the world. So moving on, wanted to just highlight that if you're considering the Master of Public Policy program, you do have the opportunity to potentially do a couple dual degree, one dual degree. There's the Master of Public Policy with the JD, which is our law degree, the MBA with our School of Business, the Masters of Science in Foreign Service, Masters of Arts in German and European Studies. We also have a degree program with the HEC School of Business in Paris. That's an MPP with a Master's in Science for Sustainability and Social Innovation. Then we have two dual degrees that are MPP, PhD in Government, and one in Psychology. And the MS in Foreign Service and the MA in German and European Studies, those are the only two where you have to apply to the programs at the same time. Whereas the other degree programs, you can start at the McCourt School and decide that you might want to add on the dual degree. And the beauty of the dual degree is that you cut down coursework on each side of the programs. So for example, the MPP is 2 years full-time. The MBA is typically 2 years full-time. But by doing a dual degree, you can do it in 3 years. The only downside to some of these dual degrees is that you lose out on some elective options, because the way we're able to cut down on the amount of time is that you're able to take we take electives away and we count courses from the other program to ours. It's a very small group that do our dual degrees. I think, sometimes people have want the extra dual degree in order to build more skills or go into specific careers. But I'm always happy to talk with students one-on-one about whether dual degree programs are the right programs for you. I do want to highlight too, for the MPP program, that you have the opportunity to study abroad. This is typically in the fall semester of your second year of the MPP program. We have two new programs for fall of 2023. One's at Bocconi University in Milan, Italy, and Sciences Po in Paris, France. We also have well-established programs at the Hertie School in Berlin in Germany and the Lee Kuan Yew School of Public Policy in Singapore. And again, what you would do is you would apply in your first year, you would go the fall abroad in your second year, and you'd be able to take your electives or potentially some core courses at these schools that would count back towards the McCourt MPP degree. So again, a lot of students come in thinking they want to do international programs, but you learn really quickly that 2 years in your degree program goes by. There's a little bit of FOMO, or what we call the fear of missing out, that when you're gone for a semester. But for some students, it really makes sense for what they want to do. And then, as I mentioned before, that we have, the dual degree with our school in Paris. We also are able to find you some electives, not right now at the McCourt School, but through the university or through other universities in the area that are sort of shorter 1 week, 2 week long classes where you can go abroad and get 3 credits for taking a class during that time. And then our students are always looking for opportunities to run policy trips. About 5-6 years ago, they went to Mexico City. We've had students go to Bogota, Colombia, Dominican Republic, Costa Rica. So big focus on Latin America, A, because it's easy, and B, because it's beautiful, and amazing alumni are there to help us host our students. So we've also done student-run policy trips to China and Israel as well. So those are always opportunities that if you don't want to spend a full semester abroad, that you could get some more of an international experience. So as I mentioned before, I think our community is what sells us. Like, yes, the curriculum is really important, and the skills that you're getting out of your courses to prepare you for after you graduate. But it's our community. I've been at the McCourt School now for 15 years. I actually left. I made the mistake of leaving, as I like to say, for 2 years to go work for another university. But I was very happy when the dean called me to come back into another role, because I missed the students and I missed our community. We are about 35 to 40% international every year, with a large, amount of students coming from Asia as well as from Latin America. We're growing our European and African international population as well. We have students from all different backgrounds, all different majors. And I think that's what makes public policy and a public policy school so unique. Lots of different experiences, lived experience, work experiences. And again, that's why it's so important for us to offer the elective courses that are open to everyone, to support our student organizations, which I'll talk about. There's student faculty interaction, lots. We try to keep our courses smaller to students. They're about 20 to 24. Occasionally students per class. Occasionally we'll have some larger class sizes, but the faculty always have office hours, want to interact with students. And then it's important to know that we hire about 60 to 70 McCourt students every year to serve as research assistants for faculty, teaching assistants for faculty, or graduate assistants for our administrative offices. So it's really, really important for us that we work and engage with our students very closely. One thing I do want to highlight, when we're talking sort of location, some of you may know or, have seen pictures of Georgetown or have visited what we call the Hilltop campus, which is currently where we're at. It's in the neighborhood of Georgetown. But we're really, really excited that the university has made a commitment to the McCourt School and providing us our own building. Because right now the building we're in was built in 1795. It's the oldest building still in use on campus. And in fact, it only has one bathroom in the entire building, and that's for the dean, because it can't hold all the plumbing that is needed. Plus, there are classrooms all over campus. We don't have our own classrooms, or we don't have a lot of meeting space. And frankly, we've just outgrown. Plus, we want to be more centrally located in Washington, D.C. to make it easier for students to intern or make it easier for faculty to come in and teach. We're going to be housed for the first time in one school, one building together, and it's going to be really, really great. Yes, we're going to miss being in a building built in 1795, but we're going to have one that's being built in 2023 with all of the modern advanced technology. And we've been able to really design it from the ground up to make sure that it is meeting the needs of our students and providing lots of opportunity for collaboration. And we're also going to have our own cafe, which we're really excited about. So this is just a visual drawing of where the school is going to be. So if you do end up applying and coming to us in fall of 23, want to highlight that you're going to spend 1 year on the Hilltop campus. So getting that old sort of Georgetown feel. And then the second year, you're going to be in this new building and being in the heart of Washington, D.C. and getting that new school feel. For those of you who are applying for the following year for incoming fall of 2024, we will be housed entirely at this new building, but there'll be plenty of opportunities to make it back to the Hilltop campus. In fact, we already know graduation is going to be there, but there'll be a variety of other opportunities for students to engage. So just want to make sure you're aware of this location change and the great opportunities. And we're just so excited to be all together once again. As I mentioned before, the student organizations are really the most important part of our community and really great opportunities to get involved. They're open to all of our degree students, as well as most of the organizations are open to other students on campus. And they really provide wonderful networking opportunities, events, advocacy, and work. So you can see here the list of them, and the list is even growing. In fact, today we just approved another policy organization in the labor policy space. So you can see some of it is really focused on specific policy areas like food and health, environment, education. Others are more identity-based. I should mention our McCourt Student Association, that's the student government that have a variety of leadership positions. And then we have our more regionally focused areas in Latin America, South Asian, East Asian, European. So there's a wide variety of opportunities to get involved at the McCourt School. And it could be simply just attending an event, or it can be taking on a leadership position, or frankly, even starting a new student organization. But I can't stress enough, there's always stuff going on at the McCourt School, that's put on by the administration or the dean's office, but every single day. In fact, the Latin American Policy Association has 4 events this week alone. And it's just pretty amazing just how important they are to the fabric of the student experience, but the McCourt experience in general. And then finally, just as far as engagement, I really want to highlight something that's special to the McCourt School. So the Institute of Politics and Public Service, or what we call GU Politics, really sort of blends public policy and politics. And while it is under the McCourt School, it does actually serve the entire Georgetown campus, both undergraduate and graduate students. They hold lots of forums and events, but they also bring in 5 or 6 fellows every semester who hold study groups that are not for credit. You can drop in or out. They hold office hours. And these are, political appointees or journalists or, former politicians. And they're both international and domestic. And it's really, as you can see, sort of in the middle, that it's really trying to prove that politics can be a good thing too. Public service is one thing, but, politics is seen as broken or a dirty thing in a lot of different countries, but it's a real opportunity also for these great practitioners to learn directly from students. And every single one of the fellows say that it ends up changing them and their perspectives when they're going back into the working world. And in fact, some of them have even come on and stayed on to teach for us at the McCourt School. So just an incredible group and just opportunities to get involved. And I'm not even highlighting all of the other things that you can do at McCourt and Georgetown, but those are sort of the highlights, our student organizations and GU politics. So I mentioned at the beginning those essential skills we were talking about. I just want to quickly talk about career development because, the Master of Public Policy or, public policy are sort of newer in the graduate school landscape in the past 30 or 40 years. But I think it's pretty interesting that fewer than 10% of our students go on to get advanced degrees. So for a lot of students, this is the final sort of degree that they get, and getting those skills are so important to them. But our Office of Career Development and Alumni Engagement provides all of these opportunities to get involved and sort of learn more. They do one-on-one coaching, they hold workshops, they focus specifically on international student experiences, they host, post online job databases, provide lots of networking opportunities. And I can't stress enough how involved our alumni, particularly in the search process. In the networking and support for our current students. So they do a lot of work and they're really, really great at what they do. So to give you just a little bit of a sense of sort of where, who employs our students, as you can see, it sort of breaks down into public sector, and that's both sort of, the domestic US public sector, federal, state, and local, but also international governments, whether that's kind of at their federal, state, or local levels. There's private sector opportunities that's typically within the consulting space or the think tank space, research opportunities, but also lots within the nonprofit NGO space. And, you can see sort of some of the titles. And again, this is always hard. Our students want to know exactly, sort of what title, what salary they're going to be at. But it really does depend upon what experience you're coming in with, what background you have, sort of what type of sector you're going into. So it's hard to give you sort of any salary or information in that way. But what I'll show you on the next slide is you can see employment outcomes. We just got our employment outcomes for this graduating class of 2022. We're just working on the graphics and we'll update it. But it's really interesting because it's very, very similar to where our students are at, you know, in the graduating class of 2021. As you can see, sort of the sector breakdown, you know, it's a little bit about a third. You know, sometimes, as you can imagine, with a public policy school, it's, you know, more public sector. And then you can see sort of the employment outcomes that, you know, between sort of further education, employment, you know, or other, you know, we do have a good success rate of over 90% of our students seeking employment or further education. And this is 6 months out of graduation, just to be aware. We're seeing right now for the class that just graduated in 2022, that it's about a 92% employment rate 6 months out. And when you see those that are pursuing, you know, or seeking employment, we are really proud that our Office of Career Development and Alumni Engagement do provide lifetime career development services for our alumni. So it's not like you graduate and we never see you again. You continue to work with them. You can continue to network, attend workshops, you know, work with them one-on-one in a coaching aspect to find the career path that you want to find. So we'll, you know, send out and update our website with the 22 statistics as soon as we develop those graphics. So I'm going to stop sharing here for a second. And I'm going to turn it over. I've been talking a lot, and as I said, a lot of information at you. And if you don't, you know, believe me that I'm trying to do this sales job and how great the McCourt School is, I invited an alum to come talk to you about her experience at the McCourt School. So I'm going to turn it over. It's so good to see you. Have her introduce herself, her background, and just tell you more about her experience, and then hopefully she'll be able to stay on and answer some Q&A as well. So I turn it over now. Thank you, Patricia.
Tienes tu micrófono apagado.
Típico. Hi, Leslie. Happy to see you again.
So good to see you.
Been a while. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
All right. I feel honored to participate today. And well, what can I say about McCourt? I was listening to you and I was just so happy to remember all my days over there. First of all, thanks to Sophia and FUNED for this opportunity, because they were key for me to be able to attend the invitation I received to study at McCourt. I graduated from the MPP program in 2018. A little bit about my background. I studied political sciences here in Mexico, and then I did the MPP program. So I'm gonna try to speak a little to listen, to be able to attend more questions. And all you already said everything. And well, the hardest part, I will say, is try to identify and to select the events and the courses you want to take, because you need time and money to take all the courses and all the attend all the events that are going on around McCourt and around Georgetown University. My program was 11 months only, and that was my biggest challenge, to select my electives, because all were really interesting and the professors and faculty are just on the top of the academic world. I was so happy with the negotiation clinics and the other clinics that I took. I was part of the Costa Rica trip as part of the global policy course. And I tried to select as many electives as I could, but the time was my worst enemy. And the community, like you said, is amazing. It's very enlightening to have conversations with people from all over the world, people from so many different cultures, and to address similar challenges in our countries as we well, I have dedicated my life to public service for the last 20+ years. So it was very interesting to also learn from them, not just from, what we have on the class and the lectures and the books that we're asked to study. It's a lot that I can share about the McCourt experience. It's a life experience, not only academic, it's a life experience. I will do it again if they ask me. I would happy to attend questions, because I can talk about my court for hours,
And I appreciate that. I'll go really quickly just through the admissions stuff, and then
Okay.
we'll open up to Q&A, just to highlight that, there still is time, as we mentioned, in order to apply if students, are interested still. It's in about a month, so the March 1st deadline is going to come up fairly quickly. But I'll tell you a little bit more so that if you are interested, you can always follow up with us. And one thing I want to say is that, again, we were very excited to partner with FUNED. And it's wonderful to hear that, it's helped fund a lot of our students from Mexico. And now we have more formal partnership. So if you do end up applying, whether that's in the March 1st deadline or next year, and you indicate to our admissions team that you attended this webinar, or for those of you who are unable to attend that are watching the recording, we will waive the $90 application fee, just as a thank you for showing up tonight and being interested. Most of our applications we're going to require a resume or CV. There'll be an academic statement of purpose. There's an optional statement, which typically is asking about your lived experiences and anything you'll be bringing to the classroom and the community environment. Of course, we'll ask for your transcripts, as well as the standardized test scores. I'll talk about in a second. For those of you who are non-native English speakers, you will be required to take what we call the TOEFL or the IELTS, if that applies to you. And then 3 letters of recommendation. And we typically ask for, if you're coming right from undergraduate, 3 academic or grade, or 2 academic and 1 professional. For those of you with significant work experience, if it's been a while, 3 professional are okay. If you can get an academic, that's great. But really, we want from people who know you and who can attest to, how you're going to do in graduate school. It's not an easy program, but it's a rewarding program, as we said, and we just want to see, that people who know you are really can tell us how they think you're going to do. Now, back to the standardized tests. So for the MPP, MIDP, and DSPP, we used to require the GRE, or we would accept the GMAT or the LSAT in lieu. However, given sort of the past few years, and given, things that have been coming out about the inequities with the GRE test scores, you are able to apply to waive these test scores. Recognize it's very expensive, there's all the prep that needs to go, and that it just might not be, easy for you to do. So you can apply for a waiver. But we do say that if you can take it, it does help us in just giving us a little bit better sense of sort of, particularly your quantitative aptitude. And we do take it in consideration when we talk about scholarships. Some prerequisites you should be aware of for the MPP and the MIDP program. We do require you to have completed by the time of admission, or sort of starting the program, well, the matriculation. We require you to have completed principles of microeconomics. So if you have had this in undergrad or other graduate program, great. If you hadn't had this, it's okay. You can still apply. We may tell you that it is a stipulation of your admission. You need to complete one. But we're really proud that at the McCourt School, we actually offer the summer before students start in the fall a free, it's online, but has live sessions as well as recorded sessions, microeconomics course at no charge. Some students choose to do that. It is a 12-week class. Some students will, do their microeconomics coursework elsewhere. For those of you considering the data science and public policy, We do require calculus for it, as well as, some evidence of technical or programming ability, particularly in R and Python. And this can be either formal coursework that you've had, or it can be, work that you're doing in internships or in work experience. And then finally, when it comes to work experience, as I mentioned before, for the MIDP program, we do require 2 years of postgraduate experience. So that's typically international development, but it can be related in a public policy space. And then, as I mentioned, with the Master of Public Management, that's 5 years of professional work experience. And that is postgraduate work experience. So just wanted you to be aware. As I keep mentioning, and I'm, want you to take this away with you, that if you're still interested, we do have the March 1st deadline. We recognize that is a fairly quick turnaround time, but in the usual cycle with non-FUNED students, our deadlines are usually December 1st and January 15th, and all students are considered for merit-based scholarship consideration. Typically by March 1st, we have run out of scholarships, or we might have not as much money left to offer students. However, if you apply and you're accepted, and if you work and get approved by FUNED, we will give you what we consider, it's called a 33% scholarship level. So it's about a third of the cost, with FUNED working with you on the rest of that. We do hope if you apply by March 1st, we'll let you know by mid-April. And then you would need to let us know by June 1st if you're able to attend, particularly if anybody needs visas or, needs to get that paperwork in or sort of get themselves ready. So, but if, this is too quick, you need more time, again, understood. We're not trying to pressure anyone. We have this relationship with FUNED, and we're going to have it for a long, long time. That in the future, just know that our deadlines typically stay the same, December 1st and January 15th. And when we say it's merit-based scholarship consideration, again, we look at each admissions application holistically, and read everything and determine different levels of funding based upon that. Now, there's a whole set of other fellowships and scholarship opportunities that we will send you that you would be able to apply for outside of the merit-based scholarship consideration. And just so you know, it's at Georgetown, we do not consider need-based financial aid. We only look at merit-based financial aid. So that's where our partnership with FUNED is really, really important for us, to help students be able to afford to come to Georgetown, because after all the wonderful things that we've told you, it is a very expensive program. University, as well as DC's, is pretty expensive as well. So we are just so pleased about our opportunity. And I know our dean, Maria Canchon, her overall goal and our mission for the McCourt School is to become the most inclusive public policy school in the world. And that means that we need to remove all sorts of financial barriers and tuition restraints. So she is out there fundraising all of the time, and in fact is in talk with some more organizations in Mexico, as well as other parts of Latin America, the world, frankly, to just bring in more and more money to help our students keep down the costs. Because again, there's so many amazing things you're going to be doing as our inpatient change makers to change the world, that we don't want you to go into a huge amount of debt and not be able to choose the opportunities or make the impact that you want to because of financial constraints. So it's only going to be more and more in the times that you're coming and applying. So I'm going to end there, stop sharing my screen, start looking at the chat, and see.
There are some questions already, Leslie. If you want, I
Wonderful.
can read them for you so you don't get distracted with the chart, the chat, sorry. So the first one is from Kevin. Thank you, Kevin. And if anyone feels they want to talk, you can also just put your mics on and ask away. So Kevin is asking if there is still an opportunity to get a scholarship by McCourt School of Public Policy.
Yes. So if you apply for the March 1st deadline, there's sort of two things that are going to be happening. One is that depending upon, the scholarships in sort of what we call the regular merit-based pool, what's left, you could be offered a scholarship through that program, or for separate from FUNED. However, as Sophia will tell you about sort of the application deadlines with FUNED, we will, if you say only get a 10% scholarship from us, but you get approved through FUNED, we will give you a 33% scholarship. However, again, depending upon your application and depending upon the funding left, you may be eligible for a 50% scholarship from us. So yes, there are still opportunities by March 1st to get scholarships. The levels are just going to depend upon how much we're already allocated. But the good thing is, because of our now relationship and agreement, you are guaranteed, if getting all of the approvals, to get a 33% scholarship.
So yes, guys, this is really something you should take an opportunity, really consider it, because it's very generous from McCourt. So we have some questions from Salvador. So I'm just going to read them all, and you can just answer them all. Internships done while studying count as internships done while studying, do they count as postgraduate experiences for the MIDP?
So no, unfortunately, they don't. So it has to be, you needed to have completed your undergraduate and then worked for 2 years before applying to the MIDP. Now, if those work experiences post-graduation, post-undergraduate, graduation are internships, that's fine with us. Those are professional experiences as well. However, if you have significant work within the international development field, internships while you were an undergraduate, you could potentially work with the faculty director, his name is Frank Wiebe, to get a waiver for that. So if you are interested in that, I think it's always good to have the opportunity to talk with him. But typically we don't waive that work experience unless somebody is sort of a unique circumstance with their internships in the undergraduate experience. And I'll put the MIDP, well, it's in the slides. I realized I stopped sharing, but let me share again. That for you to follow up with. So that would be on the bottom left-hand corner, Frank Wiebe, the MIDP faculty director. You can contact him directly and let him know you attended this webinar with me. So.
Thank you. So Salvador also asks, how long does it usually take to apply to any program and get accepted?
Sure. So I think, for if you, applied at December 1st, we let those students know, I think it was January 10th, if I'm looking at my calendar correctly. Then we just had the January 15th deadline. We're in the process of reviewing those applications, and we're hoping to get those out February 27th. With the March 1st deadline, we hope to get those applications out actually a little bit quicker. I know I said mid-April, but by April 1st. Or I'm sorry, April 3rd, in order to give you some time to, make decisions. The majority of applicants apply in either sort of the December or January timeframe. We have fewer apply in the March timeframe just because it's a little bit later and for the scholarship consideration, but that's when you would know.
Thank you. So he also asks if MIDP also have a dual degree option.
No, they do not. It's only the MPP program that has the dual degree options.
Okay. And then research associate jobs are available for all students, or are they entitled to those under the sponsorship program?
So no, so we call them research assistants, RA positions, and there's several different types of RA positions at McCourt, and they're all open to students in any degree program at McCourt. Each faculty member, and we have about 40 full-time faculty members, usually get an RA to help them with their research. So those are 40 positions right there. We also have a variety of research centers at the McCourt School, such as the Center for Education in the Workforce, or GUIDE, which is our Georgetown University International Development Evaluation program. They hire RAs. So again, they're all open to any of our degree students. So you have to be at McCourt in a degree program in order to apply for those RA positions. And then sometimes our students find RA positions with other faculty or research centers on Georgetown's campus outside of the McCourt School.
So we have two regarding our scholarship, our partnership. So I'm just going to ask them together. So it's from Kevin and Salvador.
Yeah.
The scholarship with FUNED applies also in the December deadline, and do all students under FUNED receive the discount?
Yes, to both of them. So the December deadline, and again, you know, with the December deadline, when we typically have more funding, we might offer you a 50% scholarship. So that would be the scholarship level that you would be funded at. But say we only offer you a 10% scholarship, and then you go through the FUNED process and get approved, then we would increase it to 33%. And then, yes, all students who are under the FUNED, you know, get their FUNED approvals. And Sophia will provide us with the list, will receive the discount. I know it's hard when we say 33% discount scholarship, it's basically the same thing. It's, you know, it's 33% of a scholarship, or sorry, a scholarship that goes to 33% of the tuition cost.
Exactly. The only thing that I want to add, Leslie, if I may, is that you have to make the decision with FUNED before you arrive to Georgetown, before you go to Washington, because Georgetown needs to allocate those resources in time. So you can apply to FUNED funding throughout the year, but if you want the scholarship, you need to apply before you're in Washington. We said it was before August, right?
Correct, before August 1st.
And then two more questions from Diego Gonzalez. What does the average profile of the merit scholarship recipient looks like? Example, GPA, GMAT, etc.
Yeah.
And can 2 of the 3 recommendation letters be from work experience?
So I'll start with the second question. And yes, 2 of the 3 recommendations can be from work experience. Again, we want people who really know you, whether it's in the professional setting or the academic setting, who can speak to how you're going to do in a, you know, academically rigorous program and what you'll be contributing to the community. The first question is a little bit harder to answer. We don't have an average profile, particularly because we waived the GREs. You know, the GPAs, yes, important, but it's only one factor. We really look at the overall, and I know this sounds like it's such, you know, kind of a gray area, but we look at overall everything. When we consider merit, it's not just GPA, it's work experience, internship experience, it's, you know, getting published, or it's, you know, winning an award, or it's having a really difficult lived experience and giving back to the community. It's volunteer, it's a lot of everything. So we do end up giving funding, some level of funding, and that's typically in the 10%, 25%, 33%, up to 50% range. To about 70% of our students. So it's really hard to sort of give you an answer of what that looks like. We also have the opportunity for students who maybe don't receive a lot of funding or haven't received any funding, and still come to the McCourt School, that they can apply in their second year if they've done well academically, for what we call the Office of the Dean Scholarships for returning students. We have a set of funding to help sort of, you know, students who didn't receive a lot of funding during the admissions process. So sorry, again, it's kind of a gray area, but we really do consider each student individually when it comes to the merit process. And I would say that, you know, that it's hard to give like average GPAs just overall across all programs, but, you know, obviously, like we usually require a minimum 3.0, though we do recognize students have, you know, different things going on that, you know, may have, you know, didn't give them a 3.0. And I think that you have the opportunity in the optional statement to explain that to us, if there's any sort of academic inconsistencies or concerns, and that we're able to accept students without with below a 3.0. We just have to justify it to our sort of governance board, which is our Graduate School of Arts and Sciences. But for the most part, our students have a minimum of 3.0. Across the degree programs, it varies depending upon, you know, the students, because again, it's not just about GPAs.
Thank you, Leslie. Are there any more questions? A question maybe for Patricia, for her experience over there. She's from Mexico. She's a FUNED scholar, so maybe it might be interesting to hear something else from her. This is your chance.
Thank you, Sophia. And also, just to say, if there's anyone that requires any like detailed information or acompañamiento during the process, happy to help anytime.
That's very generous. There's a question for you from Diego. What was the hardest thing during your application process?
Okay, I'm gonna say the hardest thing was to send my bachelor's credits translate into the the US system. That was the hardest part.
Thank you. Anyone else? Or does anyone want to go see the State of the Union?
If you're interested in public policy, it does help.
Exactly.
But if you want to change the world, it also will help. Yeah.
Exactly. So I just want to say, sorry, there's another question from Kevin. Did you get any scholarship or any funding opportunity?
I did, otherwise I wouldn't be able to join Georgetown. I had the CONACYT scholarship, the FUNED funding, the Banco de Mexico fund credit, and one more from a private source.
How has the degree affected your work performance opportunities?
How was the degree? Well, it didn't affect it, it benefited my work opportunities. One of the main reasons I attend to McCourt School because I was sure that it was going to give me the opportunity to advance in my career. By the time I went to Georgetown, I was I don't remember, I'm 13 or 17. I have been working for 13 years, I think. And I felt, my feeling was that I needed this upgraded to advance in my career. And I definitely got it.
Thank you. Did you get any, sorry, what are the career opportunities to work for the private or public sector in Washington, D.C.?
I'm gonna head that to Leslie.
Sure. So I think, that there's a variety of opportunities. I think, the public sector, federal government can be a little bit difficult if you want to, but I think, our international students who decide and want to stay tend to work in, think tanks, research opportunities, those that work with the public sector. I know that some of our students have also worked for Deloitte or other private consulting companies. So that's the private sector. I think, we're focusing a lot on sort of state and local government opportunities, but we're seeing more and more of these STEM, as I mentioned, we're STEM certified for the MPP, MIDP, and DSPP, that more of our international students are finding STEM jobs, even within the federal government, because they have a specialized degree set and because they can stay now for 3 years instead of for 1 year. But that's just new to us. Last year's graduating class was the first class to have this STEM certification. So we're expecting more. And I'm also happy, Diego, you can follow up with me. I can put you in touch with the career office, as well as potentially some students or alums, international students that have gotten opportunities. I know one of another great ambassador alum for us is working, in the Mexican embassy in the US right now too, in DC, and is certainly happy to talk with students about, his career and experiences. So it's not always the easiest for international students, but we're trying to break down some of the barriers, as well as work, specifically with international students sort of right from the beginning on how to make yourselves the best candidates possible for postgraduate opportunities.
That's great. That's great. Thank you. And then this one is also for Patricia. Did you do an internship after finishing your master's?
No, I didn't. It was not required by the time I attend.
Yeah.
So I came back almost as soon as I finished my degree. Also because my boss was waiting for me, so I couldn't stay longer. And I was going to be the oldest intern in disease, so I was not going to be happy with that.
So Kevin is asking if you can tell us a little bit more about your work experience once you got your MPP.
My MPM.
Your MPM, sorry.
Well, one of the most, this might sound not political, right? But I was able to negotiate a different salary once again I came back here. And also what I learned most with my program was a management level of from the academic and the like especially from the academic area, and that gave me a different perspective when trying to manage programs that I have under my responsibility.
Great, thank you.
As that was I think that's the most important thing.
And then Diego is asking if you can tell us the best courses or subjects from your program.
Well, from my program, that depends a lot of what you're doing. Like I said, I have only dedicated my professional life to public service. So one of the most important value-added courses that I took was leadership. Was public leadership. I also took, like I said, negotiation clinics, which I love. I have 2 courses on corruption and democracy. And what else? Decision making was a very, that's one of, it's not elective, it's a core course for the MPP, from the MPM program. And that was very enlightening as well. I think those are interesting.
Was the public leadership, was that with Kathy Kretman?
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. Negotiation maybe with Rachel Milner-Gillers. I can't remember if you had her or not, but.
I have that one, and I also have one with Professor Robert. I can remember.
Oh, Rogowski. Yeah.
Rogowski.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That
and
was
everyone knows those are still around and still available.
I learned a lot with those courses as well.
That's great.
And the global policy, I enjoy it really a lot, because it gave me the opportunity to have a step out of the academic world and then go back to the, to the field again with a different perspective.
That's great. Thank you very much. I just want to say this is going to be uploaded at the FUNED webpage in the next couple of days. So if you guys know anyone else who might be interested in McCourt, you can share this with them. And as Leslie said, McCourt has generously waived the application fee for anyone who has attended this webinar or has watched it. So that is also good to have, good to know. So if there aren't any more questions, I'm just going to say thank you again for your time, Leslie and Patricia, and for the generosity for being here with us and for sharing with us. It's very exciting for me. It's bittersweet because it always makes me want to go. But anyway, thank you so much.
Thank you, Sophia. Thank you, Leslie. And don't hesitate to reach anytime.
Thank you. Have a good night. Good to see you.
Have a good one too. Bye-bye.
Have a good night, everyone. Bye. Thank you.